time with Krishna in the forest, and when they saw these footprints, they realized what she had done. They forensically kind of recreated the activities between Radha and Krishna.
Mm.
So they were a little envious, and they went as far into the forest as the moonlight would take them.
Okay.
And it became too dark, and they went back, and they were completely uh, just crying. Really, they were abject, suffering, and they were just sitting on the banks of the Jamuna. So this is where this starts. Okay. So text one, I'll read 10, and then everybody else can grab 10 each. You're next, Maharaj.
Okay.
Okay, be ready now.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, text one. Sukadev Goswami said, O king, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the gopis began to weep loudly. They were very eager to see Lord Krishna. Then Lord Krishna, a smile on his lotus face, appeared before the gopis, wearing a garland and a yellow garment. He directly appeared as one who can bewilder the mind of even Cupid, who himself bewilders the minds of ordinary people. When the gopis saw that their dearmost Krishna had returned to them, they all stood up at once, and out of their affection for him, their eyes bloomed wide. It was as if the air of life had re entered their bodies. One gopi joyfully took Krishna's hand between her folded palms, and another placed his arm, anointed with sandalwood paste, on her shoulder. A slender gopi respectfully took in her joined hands the betel nut he had chewed, and another gopi, burning with desire, put his lotus feet on her breast. One gopi, beside herself with loving anger, bit her lips and stared at him with frowning eyebrows, as if to wound him with her harsh glances. Another gopi looked with unblinking eyes upon his lotus face, but even after deeply relishing its sweetness, she did not feel satiated, just as a mystic saints are never satiated when meditating upon the Lord's lotus feet. One gopi took the Lord through the aperture of her eyes and placed him within her heart. Then, with her eyes closed and her bodily hair standing on end, she continuously embraced him within. Thus, immersed in transcendental ecstasy, she resembled a yogi meditating upon the Lord. All the gopis enjoyed the greatest festivity when they saw their beloved Keshava again. They gave up the distress of separation, just as people in general forget their misery when they gain the association of a spiritually enlightened person. Encircled by the gopis, who were now relieved of all distress, Lord Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, shone forth splendidly. My dear King, Krishna thus appeared like the super soul encircled by his spiritual potencies. So, who would like to
The
pick that up?
Almighty Lord then took the gopis with him to the bank of the Kalindi, who, with the hands of her waves, had scattered piles of soft sand upon the shore. In that auspicious place, the breeze, bearing the fragrance of blooming kunda and mandara flowers, attracted many bees, and the abundant rays of the autumn moon dispelled the darkness of night. Their hearts vanquished by the ecstasy of seeing Krishna, the gopis, like the personified Vedas before them, felt their desires completely fulfilled. For their dear Krishna, they arranged a seat with their shawls, which were smeared with kumkum powder from their breasts. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whom the great masters of mystic meditation arranged a seat within their hearts, took his seat in the assembly of the gopis. His transcendental body, the exclusive abode of beauty and opulence within the three worlds, shone brilliantly as the gopis worshipped him. Sri Krishna had awakened romantic desires within the gopis, and they honored him by glancing at him with playful smiles, gesturing amorously with their eyebrows, and massaging his hands and feet as they held him on their laps. Even while worshiping him, however, they felt somewhat angry, and thus they addressed him as follows: Sri Gopi Uchahu. Some people reciprocate the affection of only of those who are affectionate towards them. while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. And yet others will not show affection towards anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they do not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. My dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful, like parents, naturally affectionate. Some persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true faultless path of religion, and they are true well-wishers. Then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature ungrateful, or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them. What to speak of those who are inimical? One more, yeah. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it he can think of nothing else.
Pretty clever.
Yeah.
All right, Ranga, you want to read?
Yes, certainly. I'll there's a couple more for this one, then I'll start the next one.
Yeah, start the next one. And then Vamsi's next. There's Vamsi.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey,
Okay.
Vamsi.
Okay then. My dear girls, so this is 21. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion of the Vedas and of your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me, your beloved. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties.
Which are difficult to break.
Which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation.
Okay. So this is chapter 33, text 1.
Yeah, 33, the Rasa dance. Okay,
Yep.
text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, when the cowherd girls heard the Supreme Personality of Godhead speak these most charming words, they forgot their distress caused by separation from him. Touching his transcendental limbs, they felt all their desires fulfilled. There on the Jamuna's banks, Lord Govinda then began the pastime of the Rasa dance in the company of those jewels among women, the faithful gopis, who joyfully linked their arms together. The festive Rasa dance commenced with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis, and as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the Rasa dance, and they soon crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. Text 4. Kettle drums then resounded in the sky, while flowers rained down, and the chief Gandharvas and their wives sang Lord Krishna's spotless glories. Number 5. A tumultuous sound arose from the armlets, ankle bells, and waist bells of the Gopis as they sported with their beloved Krishna in the circle of the Rasa dance. In the midst of the dancing Gopis, Lord Krishna appeared most brilliant, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. As the Gopis sung in the praise of Krishna, their feet danced, their hands gestured, and their eyebrows moved with playful smiles, with their braids and belts tied tight, their waists bending, their faces perspiring, the garments on their breasts moving this way and that, and their earrings swinging on their cheeks. Lord Krishna's young consorts shone like streaks of lightning in a mass of clouds. Eager to join conjugal love, their throats coloured with various pigments, the Gopis sung loudly and danced. They were overjoyed by Krishna's touch, and they sang songs that filled the entire universe. One Gopi joined Lord Mukunda in his singing, sung pure melodious tones that rose harmoniously above his. Krishna was pleased and showed great appreciation for her performance, saying, "Excellent, excellent." Then another Gopi repeated the same melody, but in a special metrical pattern, and Krishna praised her also. So maybe Vamsi Vilas Prabhu can take over?
Yeah, and then
Yes.
Rasa Bihari, he's here.
And Rasa Bihari, wonderful.
Yeah, that's great that he's with us. That's wonderful.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Danda Pranam. Text 10. When one gopi grew tired from the rasa dance, she turned to Krishna, standing at her side, holding a baton, and grasped his shoulder with her arm. The dancing had loosened her bracelets and the flowers in her hair. Upon the shoulder of one gopi, Krishna placed his arm, whose natural blue lotus fragrance was mixed with that of sandalwood pulp, anointing it. As the gopis relished that fragrance, her bodily hair stood on end in jubilation, and she kissed his arm. Next to Krishna's cheek, one gopi put her own, beautified by the effulgence of her earrings, which glittered as she danced. Krishna then carefully gave her the betel nut he was chewing. Another gopi became fatigued as she danced and sang, the bells on her ankles and the waist tinkling. So she placed upon her breast the comforting lotus hands of Lord Achyuta, who was standing by her side. 14. Having attained as their intimate lover, Lord Achyuta, the exclusive consort of the goddess of fortune, the gopis enjoyed great pleasure. They sang his glories, and he held their necks with his arms. 15. Enhancing the beauty of the gopis' faces were the lotus flowers behind their ears, the locks of hair decorating their cheeks, and drops of perspiration. The reverberation of their armlets and ankle bells made a loud musical sound, and their chaplets scattered. Thus the gopis danced with the Supreme Lord in the arena of the rasa dance, as swarms of bees sang in accompaniment. 16. In this way, Lord Krishna, the original Lord Narayana, master of the goddess of fortune, took pleasure in the company of the young women of Vraja by embracing them, caressing them, and glancing lovingly at them as he smiled his broad, playful smiles. It was just as if a child were playing with his own reflection. 17. Their senses overwhelmed by the joy of having his physical association, the gopis could not prevent their hairs, their dresses, and the clothes covering their breasts from becoming disheveled. Their garlands and ornaments scattered. O hero of the Kuru dynasty! 18. The wives of the demigods, observing Krishna, playful activities from their airplanes, were entranced and became entranced and became agitated with lust. Indeed, even the moon and his entourage, the stars, became astonished. 19. Expanding himself as many times as there were cowherd women to associate with, the Supreme Lord, though self-satisfied, playfully enjoyed their company. 20. Seeing that the gopis were fatigued from conjugal enjoyment, my dear king, merciful Krishna lovingly wiped their faces with his comforting hand. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Rasi Bihari, you're there. Are you there? There you are.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you pick up at 21?
I am very sorry. I'm closing my store and I'm just diving in a nectar of you reading it. I apologize.
No problem. We'll start over.
I think my husband might like to,
okay.
to read, Bhavananda.
Back there, but they didn't have all those long words.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get you through it, Bob. Don't worry about it.
First one is Gopis.
Gopis, thank you. 21. The Gopis honor their hero with smiling glances sweetened by the beauty of their cheeks and the effulgence of the curly locks and glittering golden earrings. Overjoyed from the touch of his fingernails, they chanted the glories of his all-auspicious transcendental pastimes. Lord Krishna's garland had been crushed during his conjugal dalliance with the gopis and colored vermilion by the kunkuma powder on their breasts. To dispel the fatigue of the gopis, Krishna entered the water of the Yamuna, followed swiftly by bees who were singing like the best of the Gandharvas. He appeared like a lordly elephant entering the water to relax in the company of his consorts. Indeed, the Lord had transgressed all worldly and Vedic morality, just as a powerful elephant might break the dikes in a paddy field. My dear king, in the water, Krishna found himself being splashed on all sides by the laughing gopis, who looked at him with love. As the demigods worshipped him by showering flowers from their airplanes, the self-satisfied Lord took pleasure playing like the king of the elephants. Then the Lord strolled through a small forest on the banks of the Yamuna. This forest was filled with its limits of breezes carrying the fragrances of all the flowers growing on the land and in the water. Followed by his entourage of bees and beautiful women, Lord Krishna appeared like an intoxicated elephant with his she-elephants. Although the gopis were firmly attracted to Lord Krishna, whose desires are always fulfilled, the Lord was not internally affected by any mundane sex desire. Still, to perform his pastimes, the Lord took advantage of all those moonlit autumn nights, which inspire poetic descriptions of transcendental affairs.
Parikshit
Maharaj said, O Brahmana, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe has descended to this earth along with his planetary portion to destroy your religion and reestablish religious principles. Indeed, he is the original speaker, follower, and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated them by touching other men's wives? O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly.
Yeah.
Do I need to stop yet?
Okay. About 10, I think.
All right. Why don't we have Vamsi read a few more? And then you can too, Ranga.
Yes, Prabhu. 29. Sukadeva Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them, for they are just like fire, which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. 30. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. 31. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions. 32. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill, and even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. 33. How then could the Lord of all created beings, animals, men, and demigods, have any connection with the piety and impiety that affects his subject creatures? 34. Material activities never entangle the devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are fully satisfied by serving the dust of his lotus feet, nor do material activities entangle those intelligent sages who have freed themselves from the bondage of all fruitive reactions by the power of yoga. So how could there be any question of bondage of the Lord himself, who assumes his transcendental form according to his own sweet will? 35. He who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. 36. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear those about them to become dedicated to him. 37. The cowherd men, bewildered by Krishna's illusory potency, thought their wives had remained home at their sides. Thus they did not harbor any jealous feelings against him. 38. After an entire night of Brahma had passed, Lord Krishna advised the gopis to return to their homes, although they did not wish to do so. The Lord's beloved consorts complied with his command. 39. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. That was very good, everybody. Very good reading. We really appreciate that. So, so that's the idea, conquering the disease of the heart. But what is the disease of the heart? The disease of the heart is trying to exploit others for your selfish purposes, whatever that might be. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that lust is the all-devouring enemy of mankind, and it's the ruination of the world. We come from the spiritual world to the material world to try to enjoy as if we were God. We want to be the most beautiful. We want to be the most wealthy. We want to be the most powerful. We want to be the most famous. We want to be the most wise. Yet we want to be renounced from it all and given charity to be respected. We want our kingdom of God without God. We want God to be off wherever he is, and we want to be over here doing what we're doing. So everybody's trying to rule the world. There's a song. And how's that going? How's that going? Most people are frustrated. If they get fame, they can't tolerate it. If they get fame, it destroys them. If they get money, it ruins them. If they get too much money. If they have too many women, that will destroy a man and a woman. And so the idea is people want to imitate God. Now, God has just performed the rasa dance with his beloved devotees. Now, try to understand, in the original text 16 in chapter 32, it says that Krishna is playing just like a child with his own reflection. Have you ever looked in a pond and you see your mirror in the pond? And so you may make funny faces at it. You may press the water and watch the face become distorted or whatever you might do. Everyone is an expansion of Krishna. Everything is an expansion of God, Krishna. Everything. This is called the Virata Rupa. The Virata Rupa means the separated energies of God: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. And above that, the soul sits on a chariot made of these material elements. The senses are pulling us in all directions, and the chariot is about to go over an abyss. And we see the face of the soul. Oh, no. We've gotten ourselves in trouble again, trying to play God. So the greatest act of envy that we can have towards God is to try to imitate his dancing with the gopis. Now try to understand, everyone is an expansion of God. God owns us all. We don't own anything. We're born naked, we die naked. None of this belongs to us while we're here. We're meant to be using it in God's service. And by doing that, everyone becomes served, because God's will is good for everyone all the time, everywhere, in all circumstances, eternally. So how is it that the rasa dance was good for everyone? These were the wives of the cowherd men in Vrindavan. How can it be good? Think about it. It seems that God himself has broken the moral code. And so the question was asked, how is it possible that the Lord can do these types of activities and not actually be breaking the law? Because God is morality. Morality is the basis of all religion. But have you ever heard that in times past that the king, the maker of the law, the king is actually above the law? The king himself is above the law. He can do things that ordinary citizens cannot do. Now, keep in mind, according to the Vedas, we've all had millions of births. We've had millions of wives. We've had millions of children. We've had millions of families. We've been in the material world. Birth and death, reincarnation, is called the wheel of samsara. It's going on perpetually. And by having material desires, we will remain in the material world, in a material body, and suffer old age, disease, and death. No one wants it. How do we get out of it? We get out of it by giving everything back to the one who gave it to you. If God is giving you everything and you want to offer that back, does God need it from you? Does he need your money? Is God so poor that he needs your money? Is God so needed that he needs your wisdom, that you have greater wisdom than God? Does God need your fame? Right? Does God need your beauty? Does God need your power? God doesn't need anything from you. Without God, you are non-existent. For an example, let's say that the sun doesn't rise tomorrow. How long do you think it will be before every single living entity dies? How long do you think it will be? A day? 2 days? A week? It's not possible that we could live without the sunshine. It's not possible. So without God's loving glance, we cannot live. We cannot function. God cast his eyes over all creation and impregnates everything. He is the only source of all the energy. He is the energetic, and we are his energy. We are God's energy. And God, we're created actually for God's enjoyment in 5 different rasas. Those rasas start with Santa Ras, which is neutrality. When you look at rocks and trees and mountains and stuff that doesn't move, that's called neutrality. You can have a relationship with God in neutrality. You can have a relationship with God in Dasharas, which means servitude. And as a servant of God, you go to a place called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha, or the Vaikuntha planets, is where Narayan is. Narayan, it's all pomp and circumstance. It's the streets of gold that we hear about. It's the palaces bedecked with jewels that we hear about. Everybody is living in this amazing, wonderful place, and everybody worships the one God in servitude. But beyond Vaikuntha is Krishna's personal abode. It's called Goloka Vrindavan. And Goloka Vrindavan is where intimate pastimes with the Lord take place. They start out with a rasa called Sakya Ras, which means that you are friends with God. There's actually 2 types of Sakya Ras. One type of Sakya Ras thinks that we need protection from God, and the other type of friendship is that we need to protect God. So that's even more advanced, that we need to protect God. And then above that is Vatsalya Ras. Vatsalya is the parental relationship. So you can actually be the mother or father of God, just like Devaki and Vasudeva and Yasoda and Nanda and Vrindavan. And if you go back, Krishna takes birth in different incarnations throughout all history in the Vedas. It's very well described. And when he comes to exhibit his prowess in the world. And it's the verses, what is the verse? Yada yada hi dharmasha glanir bhavati bharata bhutanam hi dharmasha tadatmanam srijamya. So millennium after millennium, God is coming again and again and again and again to deliver us. And what does he do when he's here? He displays activities no one can match. No one can equal. So if someone wants to say to you, I am God, let them do what God can do. Let's see the activities. So in the Vedas, it's full of the activities of God. It's full of his entourage. It's full of his parents. It's full of his beloved Gopis, which is the next rasa, even above parental relationship. Parental relationship means I have to protect my child. So yes, we can have a relationship with God where we want to even protect him as our very own child. That's a fact. That goes on in Goloka Vrindavan. It also goes on in Gokula Vrindavan, which is a place where Krishna manifests in the material world so that people who are living in this world of birth, death, old age, and disease can also understand who is God. What does he look like? Where does he live? What is he doing? What are his activities? Who is he hanging out with? Why is he doing it? How can we have these relationships if God cannot have them? Are we greater than God? No. So if we can have a wife or we can have a girlfriend, God can also do these things. What's so fantastic about that? There's nothing fantastic about it. God does fantastic things, but these are fairly ordinary activities, but it's hard for us to accept that because we only know God as a burning bush or a voice in the sky. We have not been introduced to the intimate relationships and pastimes that God has with his beloved devotees who are free from lust and greed and animosity. Now, God will even accept your lust. God will even accept your anger and your hatred. And he will deliver you even in that situation. He's so merciful. So it says in the previous chapters that when the Gopis heard Krishna's flute song in the Vrindavan forest, that they immediately abandoned their husbands, their children, everything they had. They left the milk boiling on the stove. They ran out to see him half dressed. They didn't even necessarily put on their makeup or fix their hair or put on their bangles or put on whatever the girls do. They ran to Krishna disheveled because they felt pure, unalloyed, loving devotion for that supreme person. If we can feel unalloyed, loving devotion for an ordinary human being, Don't you think we could also have that feeling for God? Now, the difference between lust of the gopis is that they say that when they came to Krishna, God is like the sunshine. So let's say that if there were any material desires left, they were burned up in that fire of absolution. They'd given themselves completely to God. So whatever sinful reactions or thoughts they had or material desires they had were burned away immediately, and they became selfless servants of the Lord to satisfy the Lord's desire. Now, the good part is the Lord wants to satisfy your desire. As a matter of fact, he's been doing that since time immemorial. If you've eaten today or breathed air, you can thank God for that. If you have any intelligence, you can thank God for that. If you have any power, you can thank God for that. If you have any wealth, you can thank God for that. And if you don't, those things will be taken from you. Ultimately, they'll be taken from you. Because it's a blessing that we have the air to breathe, that we have the sun to shine, that we have all of these things. Even stool and urine, when put in the sunshine, is purified and becomes completely distilled and is purified. So in the same way, if we approach God, even with lust or anger, just like Kamsa, just like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, all these great demons, they approached God with hatred. They wanted to kill God. God accepted their service. So why can't he accept the love of these beloved girls, these simple girls of Vrindavan, who were really considered to be Aborigine girls? They weren't educated. They weren't big yogis. They weren't big Vedantists. They didn't have all this knowledge. Not in this particular life, they didn't. But by dint of their loving devotion and by their selfless service to the Lord, they proved themselves as the greatest of all Vedantists, of the greatest of all learned scholars, because they came to the ultimate original conclusion that all the yogis come to from any of the yoga systems, including Ashtanga Yoga, including Karma Yoga, and including Jnana Yoga. They came to the conclusion that Bhagavan, they want to be with God. They're tired of this repeated birth and death, of this constant struggle for existence in the material world. And in the material world, only the survival of the fittest is the real law here, right? We know jivo jiva sajivanam, that one living entity is the food of another in this world. How horrible. If we think about it, we're willing to tear the flesh off the bones of another person or another animal or another creature and devour them whole. Is that love? I don't think so. That's envy. That's lust. Those are the results of envy and lust in the material world. Anger, frustration, madness. Bhagavad Gita is full of it. But we do know that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam, ivam yo veti tadvataha, chaktva deham panarjanma, naiti mameti surjana. That means one who knows the transcendental nature of my activities and my appearance does not, upon leaving the body, we pass away at time of death, does not take his birth again in this material world, but attains to my eternal abode. And he's saying this to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we know that if we do understand who is God, if we understand his activities, and the nature of the Lord, then we don't have to come back to this material world. We can go back home and be with God. Even so much so that in this last text it says, anyone who even faithfully hears or just describes the playful affairs of the young gopis in Vrindavan, they will attain to pure devotional service in due course of time. That person will quickly become sober, will quickly conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So the idea is we must become the love that we're looking for. We must become that love. We must learn to love. And by doing that, we can enter into the kingdom of God. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been around somebody who's envious of you? Do they cause a disturbance? Every day. Because they want what you have. They hate you for what you have. They don't want you to have it. They want to possess it, right? So envy is a devouring enemy of the world, just like lust, because it creates animosity amongst human beings, divisions amongst human beings, wars amongst human beings, fighting over land that doesn't belong to you. Do you see what I'm saying? These aren't our things. All these things belong to God. So in this situation, what we have to do is learn to give it back to the Lord. If you go back to the chapter 32 and you look at verse 17 and 18, you'll see that the Supreme Person of Godhead said, so-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually not friends at all. They're selfish people. They have no true friendship, nor are they following any true principles of morality or religion. Indeed, if they do not expect benefits for themselves, they wouldn't reciprocate with anyone at all. In other words, it's a business deal. Most religion is based in karma kanda. Karma kanda means I'm doing a business arrangement with God. I want my daily bread. I want it now. Or give me this, dear God. Give me that. If you don't give it to me, our relationship is finished. It's called atheism. Atheism. Atheism means I asked you for something you didn't deliver. What use are you? Right? Is that love? No, that's a business arrangement. So that type of an arrangement, even in the Bible, it says the only reward you receive is the reward you took in this world. There's nothing waiting for you in heaven if you act like that. So they wouldn't even reciprocate with you if they couldn't get something off of you. You understand what I'm saying? That is not love. And then he goes on and he tells the Gopis, my dear slender-waisted Gopis, some people are genuinely merciful or like parents naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true faultless path of religion. And they are the true well-wishers of the world. You understand? Because they're not out to get something from you. They're out to give something to you. And when they give to you, that's their reward. Krishna told the Gopis in this story, he said, what can I do for you? Let your love for me be your reward. Now, these Gopis' hairs were standing on end. Tears were flowing from their eyes. They were sold out to God. They were ready to give up their family, the world, the wealth, their position in society, everything for God. Just like Christ, who was willing to give his body up on the cross and still begging for forgiveness for those people who were actually killing him at the time. They were sticking swords in his side. They put a crown. They nailed us. You know the whole story. So here's my point. People who are doing what they're doing as a business relationship with God is not going to work out. Ultimately, if you give yourself to God, there you will need nothing. Okay, try to imagine a small child. A small child is playing in the yard. We have a little child next door here. And this little child's so cute, he's out playing in the yard. He doesn't have a care in the world. If he needs anything, his mother's right there. If he needs his diaper changed, if he needs to be cleaned, if he hurts himself, she's going to fix his wound. He doesn't worry about what he's going to eat. He doesn't worry about where he's going to sleep. He doesn't worry about anything because he knows his parent has got him in their arms. If we become like little children in the same way, and we accept that God will protect us in all circumstances, we can be fearless. We can be free of anxiety. We can be peaceful. We can be happy. And we can go back home, back to the spiritual world at the end of this lifetime by giving ourselves to God. So it says here, there are also those who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature ungrateful or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them. What to speak of those who are inimical. So we're told to love our enemies, aren't we? We are. So in this case, it's saying that people who are envious of their superiors, such persons will not love even those who love them. And we know people like that in this world. You can love them, but they won't love you back. So Krishna goes on to say, the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of the living beings who come to me, even as they worship me, he says, is that he wants to intensify their loving relationships. You know what I mean? I mean, God's pretty smart, right? I mean, everything that we see, there's great science departments and great universities all over the world trying to understand the dung beetle, just one little minor creation of God. So who's got Ajay's got a hand up. Hang on, Ajay. We're gonna open it for questions in just a second, if that's okay with you. Thanks for being here, man. I see you're here with us. Great. So I'll finish this point and then we'll take some questions. All right. So I guess the bottom line is here is that Krishna wants to intensify our loving devotion towards him. So when he's dancing with the gopis, they're feeling very proud because they get to dance with God. They get to dance with God. So when God feels that pride coming, what's the axiom? Pride comes before the fall. So Krishna disappears. And they go searching and longing for the Lord, more and more and more and more, until finally their hearts are about to burst and God shows back up, when he takes them to the epitome of desire and longing to be with him. In the Bible, there's a verse that says, you will search for me and you will find me when you search for me with all your heart. So this is not some nonsense casual relationship. This is the eternal function of the soul. It's selfless devotional service to the Creator. It's not a petty issue. It's the most important one thing that we need to learn. Bhagavad Dharma. That eternal service that we have for the Lord. Until we find it, we'll never be happy. We cannot be happy until we find that. So he says that, understanding that they did this simply for his sake, that they rejected the authority of even worldly opinion for him, of the Vedas itself and their moral codes, and even of their relatives, including their husbands. He said, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings toward me. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service. This is God speaking. Even within the lifetime of Brahma, that's the lifetime of the whole universe, he couldn't repay them for their love. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshiped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This is the deepest philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We've been studying the first 10 cantos diligently, trying to understand who is God, what his purposes are in the world, why he comes here, why he incarnates here over and over and over again. We've been trying to understand that. And now we've been taken to his most intimate rasa called Madhurya rasa, that of conjugal love between a man and a woman. So these are very intimate, delicate pastimes. And if anyone thinks of these pastimes as if they're ordinary lust, or if anyone tries to imitate these pastimes, then they might as well have drank an ocean of poison, because that will be the effect and they'll be destroyed by that imitation. So we have to understand God makes the laws. God expanded himself into all of us for the purpose of pleasure, so he could have these 5 rasas. These relationships that we're given in the material world, we have them. But God, when we have them with God, we do it in a state of perfection. There's no lust in this. Although God will accept, you can approach God just like Kamsa did, just like all the other great demons of the world did. And if God kills you, you go home back to Godhead. But if you do it in a favorable way, That's our sampradaya. We're taught that we should approach God in the most favorable way. And we do that with selfless, loving devotion, not only to the Lord, but to his servants. And by doing that, we become perfected and we achieve something, not sadhana siddhi necessarily. It's called kripa siddhi. Kripa means by the grace of God or by the grace of the guru, we get the love of God. So simply by trying sincerely, by bringing whatever we have to the table, by offering it wholeheartedly, God will accept. And by doing that, we become purified and we receive this mercy or grace of God. And at the time of our death, we can be transferred back to the spiritual world. Krishna says in 647 in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatin antaratmana shradavan bhajate yomam same yuktatmato mataha. And of all the yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, he is most intimately united with me in yoga, and it's the highest of all. So this is Krishna speaking directly to us through Arjuna, and we can understand what God is saying. And he also says that out of many, many thousands among men who endeavor for perfection, hardly one knows God in truth. Hardly one knows God in truth. So we have the opportunity to know God in truth. He says, Bahunam Jamanamante, Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sadurlabha, after many births and deaths, he was actually in knowledge, surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very, very rare. Very rare. So there you go. Krishna also goes on to say that he's never manifest to the foolish and intelligent. For them, he is covered by his eternal creative potency called Yoga Maya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So if we want to know God, we have to do it with devotion, like the Gopis, or like Mother. We have to follow one of these great devotees. We have to follow the Mahajans. We have to follow the spiritual master. We have to get ourselves in the parampara, right? So now, Jai, you had some questions. I could go on, but you go ahead and ask your question. I'm sorry. I wanted to finish that thought process, if you don't mind. And now we can do whatever you like. What's your question?
Prabhu, so my question is, we talked about the Gopis, but, I was reading in 7th Canto that only when one is fully freed from material desires can one be purified, as said by Prahlad Maharaj. I'm struggling with my, as a family householder, struggling with meeting my material needs, and then going out for book distribution. How can I understand at the level of the Gopis on that once because I'm struggling to follow the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj. How can I follow the footsteps of Gopis? In which level is that? And is it possible in this lifetime?
Well, here's the thing, Ajay. You have to understand, Krishna says, whether you have all material desires or you have all spiritual desires, you should come to the Lord for that. He is this fulfilling everyone's desires since time immemorial. So no matter what you have, you bring it to the Lord and you bring it in sincerity. So you may not be able to understand your Swarup Siddhi at this point, but you can follow your sadhana and become perfected in that for now, and then receive your Kripa Siddhi. You can receive the mercy of the spiritual master, and your eyes then will be opened and you'll understand who is God. And God will come to you and reveal yourself. Prabhupada said that the Lord will dance in front of you, that you can see God directly. Even in the Bible, it says the pure at heart shall see God. So the idea is to become pure at heart. How do you become pure? What is pure? What does that even mean? Holy, what does that mean? I mean, we think about people who are sadhus or sages or the Pope or something. I mean, holy means that these Aborigine girls gave everything to Krishna. That's perfection. Whatever you have, Ajay, your family, your wife, your children, your finances, your home, offer it and surrender to the Lord. He's not going to take it all and leave you with nothing. You offer your food every day. He doesn't eat it all and leave you nothing to starve. The food's still on the plate. But because you offered it to the Lord, it's sinless food. It was full of sin previously. We know that from Bhagavad Gita. Those who eat without offering their food in sacrifice verily eat only sin. So before we take our food, we have to thank God. We have to say, well, you gave me this wonderful, beautiful aroma, this fragrance, this food, this flower, this vegetable, whatever it might be, this grain. You're so kind to give us that. Let me acknowledge you for it. It'd be like somebody who's a secret admirer of yours and they love you and they want to do for you and they want to give to you and they want to help you and they want to be there for you, and you snub them. Mm-hmm. You don't even give a damn. You're just like, that's nothing to me. Would that be very nice? No. So the idea is we have to acknowledge that God is giving us everything that we have. And he goes on to say in this regard, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye yana paryupasate. So he talks about those who worship him with devotion, meditating on his transcendental form. He says to them, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So in the same way that Radharani couldn't go any further in the forest, Krishna was willing to put her on his shoulders and carry her. But she was very proud, so Krishna disappeared. So we have to not be proud. None of this is our doing. All of this is God's doing. Everything belongs to God. We don't own anything. Whatever he's given you, it's a gift. If you offer it back, it's like a small child coming to the parent. The parent just gave the child an allowance. The child goes and buys something nice for the parent, brings it back. It's the greatest love. That's all we have to do, guys. This is very esoteric information, and it could take lifetimes to understand, or it could be understood in just a moment. If we understand the mood of the gopis was that of a sold out person. In other words, whatever you want, Lord, whatever you want is what I want. And so what does God do? He sends things for you. He sends people in your life. He sends opportunities for you. He sends knowledge to you when you're ready for it. He can give you anything. He gave Prahlad the whole universe, Ajay. He didn't even want it. That's why God gave it to him. He didn't want it. So as soon as you give up wanting it, that's when you receive it. Vamsi, you got something to say. What are you saying, Vamsi? Are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have nothing to say in this very esoteric topic. I'm just relishing the wonderful realization that you're sharing with us. Thank you so much for the wonderful nectar. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, these are difficult subject matters because they involve God's intimate pastimes. You know, my brother, he was older than me by 3 years, and he always had a girlfriend before I did, right? But I was always thinking, boy, one of these days I'll get a girlfriend, you know. Because all boys think like that. All girls think like that. It's a natural thing. It comes from God. We're hearing these pastimes, and we're similar to that in our own lives. And when he would get a girlfriend, he would go off somewhere very private where I couldn't find him. He's trying to lose me. You know what I mean? He didn't want me to be around to witness all this, right? Because these are intimate pastimes. He wanted to be alone with his beloved. So in this case, although all of the gopis were there and Krishna expanded himself to each and every one of those, and there were hundreds of them. It says in the previous chapter, he stood there and played his flute and sang songs and created a whole musical symphony while they're dancing around in this beautiful way. offering one another sidelong glances and embraces and all of this kind of thing is so wonderful that God can do that. And we're allowed to witness that. My own brother wouldn't allow me to witness it with him, and I wanted to know what it was all about as a kid. So we all want to know, how did we get this way? How do we all get these desires? Where did these things come from? There is no explanation unless you read the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature is succinct, voluminous, exacting, and consistent in the truth, in the absolute truth. And anyone can hear it. Doesn't matter. Even a child can understand. So, Rangavati, you got something? Maharaj, he left. I guess we ran him off. I wonder, I'll have to call Maharaj tomorrow and say, hey, did I go too far, Maharaj?
So Prabhu,
Oh, I
does
think
that
you
mean, I'm sorry.
probably just getting a little late for him, I suppose, because he gets up so early, doesn't he?
I know other people that do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your question? You got a question, Rangavati? Point you want to make?
Really, I just love the way, as you were saying, this cacophony of sound, and they were singing and making up. They were singing all these songs, and there was all these. Was I thought amazing to see. They weren't just dancing; they were also singing as well, and.
Well,
Their ankle bells and their waist bells made a tumultuous sound. And I was thinking there that I've always thought their ankle bells would, ting, 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 ting or something. But Indrajuma Swami was saying a few months back that Radharani has 40 something ankle bells. She has, different ankle bells. She has 40 something, 42 or 45 ankle bells. And every one of them sounds different. And they're not all bells. Some of them sound like birds or animals as well. So I suppose, some of them sound like peacocks on her ankle bells. So
wow.
there was all this happening as well with all that, and it's quite amazing. It's quite a picture that is painted, isn't it?
Well, we just read recently that the cowherd boys, these innocent young boys, are out herding cows, and as they go through these pastimes, they make up songs and they sing these songs as little children. And they're expert musicians and they're expert songwriters and they're expert singers and they're expert everything. Krishna is where all of man's intelligence comes from. Krishna says, I am the intelligence in man. He says that in Bhagavad Gita. So if we have intelligence, we have ability. I'm the ability in man, he also says. He says other things like, I'm the light of the sun and the moon, taste of water. I'm, all of these things he talks about. So we can remember God at all times. Now, I want to say one last verse, and then we're going to call it a night, if that's okay. This is where in text 35, there's so many of these other texts that I made notes of. We're not going to get to tonight because we've gone too long. But this particular one I thought would be wise to read to you, and I just lost it. Wait a minute. Can't move your phone. It'll do what it wants to do. So it says here in text 35, and this is in chapter 33, it says, he who lives as the overseeing witness in all living entities. It's called the super soul. In the Bible, they call it the Holy Ghost. In other words, the Holy Ghost permeates everything. God knows everything. God is omniscient, omnipresent, right? Omnipotent. God has all powers in full. So it says, he who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and in their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. This is the reason of our creation, is for pleasure. Rama means pleasure. When you say Hare Rama, you're addressing the source of all pleasure. Right? When you say Hare Krishna, you're addressing the form of Krishna, the most powerful, wealthy, wise, famous, powerful person who's renounced from all this. Doesn't need anything we have. He's the source of everything we have. We're his energy. It belongs to him. When you give it back, that's called yoga. Simple, 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 simple. Bhagavad Dharma. It's the eternal function of every soul is to connect themselves with God in everything they do, all the time, everywhere. It's called Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. So Krishna says in 11:54 in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Bhaktya chwana yaya sakya aham evam vidorjuna gyantum drastum chitatvena parvestum cha parantapa. Only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you. Only in this way can I be seen directly. And only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So, by all means, love God. And then you're capable of loving everyone else. Otherwise, it's all lust. It's all selfishness. All right? Can you say after me? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
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 Krishna Krishna Krishna.
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare
Hare
Rama.
Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Thank you. Please accept my respects and please pray for me. And I will do the same for you, okay? And I'll see you next week. We're finished with the Rasa dance. Many chapters, okay? So I think we'll get a lot more people come back, hopefully, after that. A lot of people are afraid to address this, and I can understand why. It's the most intimate pastime of the Lord. So thank you very much for attending tonight, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Same station, same time, same place. Be here or be square.
Prabhuji, I'm going to Jagannath Puri, so I will miss.
You're going to be in India at Jagannath Puri? Well, I guess we'll have to excuse you for that. Please send us some merch back. When are you going? When do you go? Yeah, you're lost. I'm sorry. Here you are. All right, well, send us some pictures and some.
Friday, and I'm hopefully yes. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad you're going, and please fill us in on all your wonderful adventures. We love that. Hare Krishna, everybody. See you next week. Thank you. Good night.